Hey everyone, welcome back to Learn and Grow with PD, and it is going to be a wonderful session today. Today we are starting a brand new series on SQL, that is a structured query language. It is the backbone of all modern databases. So if you've ever wondered how your favorite apps store your data, like your Instagram likes or the YouTube history, SQL is the reason behind it. SQL stands for Structured Query Language and it is used to communicate with databases. So whenever you want to store, update or fetch data, SQL is what helps you talk to the databases and it tells what exactly it has to do. Think of SQL as the language of databases, just like we use English or Hindi or Marathi to communicate with people. Now let's quickly understand how SQL works in the real world. Okay, that is, we are going to understand the client-server relationship. So let me break this down so that it would be easy to understand. Every application has this client-server relationship. So every application will have a front end and the back end. The front end is also called as the client end or the presentation layer where your actual UI resides. And in the back end, you have the business layer or the application layer, and we have the database layer or the data layer. So in the business layer, the actual business logic, that is the code of your application, will reside. And in the database, the resources or the data would be stored. So we have this backend, which is also called as a server or service end. So this is the architect of the client-server relationship. Now let's understand how this works. Now consider you are on some app, say Spotify, and you want to play a song. Now you will hit a request saying you want to play some song. Now this request will be validated in the business layer, and if it is accepted, it will go in the database, fetch the required song, and it will send you a response by playing that song. So this is how the client sends a request and then you get a response from the server. Now let's take another example. Imagine you are using an app, let's say some shopping app, and now when you log in, your phone or your computer becomes the client. Now these two ends, they are developed on different technologies, and still we can communicate because of the APIs. So we will talk about this APIs in our API playlist. But for now, let's look at the SQL part only. Okay, so your phone or the computer becomes the client, and the system that store your data, like the account details, orders, or the wish list, that's your server. So when you hit the login, the client sends the request to the server. Now this server uses the SQL to query the database to fetch your data and send it back. So the response, if the data is found in the database, you would be able to log in. That is the response. So this is what we call a client-server relationship, where the client requests the data and the server responds using SQL. Okay, now it's been a lot of time we're talking about data. So what exactly this data is that we keep talking about? So data is just an information. Okay, so it could be any meaningful raw information like your name, age, phone number, or the text, the images, audio, video, etc. So all these are the information. So in the previous example that we took about the shopping app, the product description, the product's pricing, the product image, all this is just the data. In my account section, I will have all the details about myself. That is my name, my birth date, my phone number, my address, my card details. So all these are the data. Okay. And when we store a lot of such information in an organized way, it is called a database. So a database is used, or it is an organized collection of data typically stored electronically in a computer system. Okay, so basically a database is collection of data that is stored in a structured way, so it can be easily accessed, managed and updated. For example, a school database might have tables for students, and then we can have for teachers, and then we can have for subjects. And then each table stores specific data in rows and columns, just like an Excel sheet. Okay, we went just a little forward, but that's how you manage your database, and you need a database management system. So a software to manage, organize, and perform operations CRUD on database. That is, these operations are create, read, update, and delete. So as we took this school example, as we have a table for students, one table for teachers, and for subjects, and each table stores specific data in rows and columns. For example, for students, you will have the student roll number, then the student's marks or the grades. So these are all stored in the form of rows and columns. Now that we are talking about DBMS, that is the database management system, we need to know that there are two types of DBMS, RDBMS and Non-RDBMS. RDBMS stands for Relational Database Management System. Here the data is stored in the form of tables, and these tables are related to each other through keys. We would talk about the keys in our upcoming videos. So in the same, for example, in the student database, the student table and the student marks can be student roll number and the student name and student marks. These are all stored in the form of rows and columns. So that is what is RDBMS. Similarly, on the other hand, non-RDBMS or NoSQL databases don't store data in the form of table format. So they are more flexible and used for unstructured data like images or videos or JSON documents or the graphs. And the examples for RDBMS are MySQL, Oracle, and for non-RDBMS it is MongoDB, Cassandra, etc. So what we have understood until now is a data is any meaningful or raw information, and a database is used to store the data in an organized way. And we need a software to manage, organize, and perform operations on the database, and that is the DBMS. So SQL is used to interact between the DBMS and the database. Let's look at this small example, and we are going to learn about RDBMS. So this is the example that I have taken. For example, you have an employee table where you have employee ID, employee name, and employee salary. So these headers are called as the attributes. The rows are called as the tuples or rows, and these are the columns called as columns. So this is the basic structure of RDBMS. Now that we have seen a little introduction about SQL, let's have a quick look at SQL's history. So SQL has a pretty interesting history. It was developed in 1970s by IBM researchers Donald Chamberlain and Raymond Boyce. Initially, it was called as SQL, which means structured English query language, but later shortened to SQL, that is structured query language. Today, SQL has become the standard language for interacting with relational databases across almost every platform. These relational databases, or the RDBMS, even RDBMS has been around since 1970s, and it was invented by Edgar Card at IBM. So he wanted a better way to organize and manage large amount of data, and RDBMS really took off in the 1980s and became the standard for almost most of the databases applications. So in short, SQL is how we talk to databases. Databases are where we store our data, and DBMS is a software that manages it all. In the next video, we'll actually start writing our first SQL commands, and you will see how easy it is to interact with database yourself. So don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Thank you.